Alright, the next thing we're going to talk about are applications. Now that we know some things about radicals, about how to simplify them, add them, multiply them, all that jazz, we can do some application problems. So this example on the left says, if a triangle has one leg with length 6 centimeters and a hypotenuse with length 9 centimeters, find the unknown leg of the right triangle. Find the exact value. Okay, so they tell us it's a right triangle, which is good because with a right triangle, we know we can use the Pythagorean theorem of a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And that's only true for right triangles. If it's not right, then it becomes an inequality. What we do know is the length of one leg is 6 centimeters. And the length of the hypotenuse, so the longest side, is 9 centimeters. We want to find the unknown leg. I'm going to go ahead and fill that into my equation here. So x squared plus 6 squared equals 9 squared, right? 6 and x are the legs, 9 is the hypotenuse, so 9 has to be c. The order of a and b don't matter because it's addition and it's commutative. What does matter is c itself needs to be the hypotenuse, and in this case 9. Alright, let's simplify what we have. 6 squared is 36. 9 squared is 81. I want to get x alone, so I subtract 36 from both sides. And 81 minus 36 is 45. And lastly, I can undo that square with a square root. So I square root both sides of that equation, and I get x equals the square root of 45, which can be simplified, right? 45 is 9 times 5, and 9 is a perfect square. So I can take those 3's out. Square root of 9 is 3. I'm left with a 5 underneath. And my units are in centimeters. So this is the exact value, okay? So when we talk about exact versus approximate, exact means I'm not rounding anything. With radicals that are not perfect squares, when we type that into a calculator, we actually get something that's irrational. So if it's not a perfect square, the square root of a number is going to be irrational, meaning it's going to go on and on and on forever. And as soon as I type it into my calculator, I have rounded it. It's no longer going on forever. And so that is an approximation and not the exact value. If we want an exact value of an irrational number, or in this case a radical here, we're going to leave it in this form because that's as exact as I can get. Go ahead and try the example on the right hand side, and I think drawing a picture will help. Let's see how you did. The problem says the base of a 40-foot guy wire is 15 feet from the telephone pole that it anchors. How high up the pole does the wire reach? Give an exact answer and an approximation to 2 decimal places. So I said to draw a picture. So I've got my telephone pole here, and we've got a wire that's coming from the telephone pole down to the ground. Okay, and it says that that's a 40-foot wire, so the length of that wire is 40 feet, and it is 15 feet from the telephone pole. So from the edge of the telephone pole to where it anchors in the ground, that's going to be 15 feet. And we want to know how high up is that wire going to reach. So what we don't know is how high up. And so the reason I said a picture will help is because you can see now that this is forming a right triangle. And we can use the Pythagorean theorem again. We just have to identify which sides are the legs and which one is the hypotenuse. So x is a leg. It helps form that right angle and 15 is a leg, and the longest side is the hypotenuse, and that's going to be our C. Okay, a squared plus c squared equals, or b squared equals c squared. I simplify what I know. 15 squared is 225, and 40 squared is 1,600. We want to get x alone. We subtract 225 from both sides, and we get x equals 1,375. And then lastly, I have to undo that square with the square root, and we get 1375 is a large number, so I'm going to factor it, and that would be 25 times 55, and 25 is our perfect square, so that's something I could simplify. And 55 is 5 times 11. So I do have a perfect square that I can take out. Square root of 5 squared is 5. And then left underneath the radical is 5 times 11, which is 55. So that's as far as we can go for the exact answer. So we want the exact answer and the approximation to 2 decimal places. So for the approximation to 2 decimal places, we just use our calculator, right? So if I took that 1,375, I take the square root of that, and I want to round it to 2 decimal places. So 0, 8, that's the second decimal place. We look to the right, that's a 0. The 0 says leave the 8 alone. So to 2 decimal places, it is approximately 37 8/100ths, and that is in feet. Okay, pay attention on your homework or a test. Does it ask for the exact answer? Does it ask you to round it to a certain value? Just making sure that you're getting all those points and you're paying attention to the directions.